here I welcome you back to the All Access Pass people who've signed up for this portion of the second part of the interview. We're going to have extra time and dive even deeper into, right away, a very powerful story with which we ended the first part. So if you haven't listened to the first part, do listen to part one, because what we talk about will build on part one. And here is with us Dr. Rod Newton, the developer of the Living from Vision course, doctor of chiropractic, who's developed and dedicated his life since 1979 to the exploration of consciousness in all dimensions, transcendental and transformative mindset. So we will be talking about the ascension concept of consciousness, as well as the transformational power of it, as well as continue with the powerful story of how you can take transformational tools and expecting a better future into communal work and moving away from conflict activism to internal vision conflict resolution. So, Rod, we were talking about how in Ashland you had this dreadful tower from AT&T coming into your neighborhood that was going to be set up for satellite reception, correct?
Well, it was a cell phone tower that was right outside our window here at Hidden Springs. We developed this healing center. It's very beautiful, pond on the property, everything else. And they wanted to put a cell tower at eye level because it's downhill. It would have been beaming us. Well, I didn't really know fully what it meant until I looked into the research on microwave radiation, and I was pretty shocked.
So tell us a little bit about microwave radiation, what it might have meant to you, because obviously we have Dr. Don Paris talking about ELFs and electromagnetic frequency pollution.
And thank God, because the science is suppressed. You need to know there's billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industries and governments that do not want you to know that microwave radiation is harmful. And fortunately, we did an article after this was done, and we had defeated AT&T's in their appeal. We had to appeal it, and we won the appeal, so they couldn't do the thing. Then we put an article in the newspaper saying, "Thank you, AT&T." And it was very sincerely felt, because when I found out those dangers, I had just put a router at my feet, wireless router. I read the thing, radio wave radiation. They don't even say microwave. They say radio wave radiation. I thought, okay, whatever. And I had started to wake up feeling dizzy every morning at the time that happened. So I read these things and I went, oh my God, maybe it's because of my router at my feet where I work. So I took the router off of wireless and did Ethernet connections. Within 3 days, I had gone to doctors. You need to know. Doctors had diagnosed me with, they were trying to figure out what causes this dizziness that I wake up with. Nobody could find it out. So within 3 days of unplugging my wireless router, it was gone forever. Now, what would have happened if AT&T hadn't come along and woke me up to this? And hopefully I'm waking up some people listening. I don't know, maybe maybe most people know this, but listen to Dawn's talk, So, so thank God, so we had the article in the newspaper, thank you, AT&T, because I don't know, I might have gotten cancer, certainly would have damage.
So I love how you were saying thank you to the challenge that you'd experienced. Instead of damning it, you're thanking it. Now walk us through a little bit how you took the principles of living from vision into conflict resolution at a communal level to rile everybody up instead of fighting AT&T, envisioning a better future. How did you do it and what did you do? Just in a nutshell.
It's exactly what we need to do with political activism, so we don't create more divisiveness and polarization of the process. So we had a team of people that were trained in creating skills. We all knew this is the way we approach life. We also had a group of political activists that were trained in political activism. We got together and talked about how we're going to go about this. And the political activists were going, wow, this is different. The talk was, we're not going to oppose AT&T. We're not going to criticize them. We're not going to condemn them. They're just doing their job. What we're going to do is envision radiation-free, thing. And
so the end result, the end result of what you really wanted, you envisioned, and
was a healthy place work
Right.
here at Hidden Spring. So we just envisioned this healthy place to work, right? Now, we started our political activism. The first round was the planning department, and their city attorney said, you can't say no to AT&T or they'll sue us. So 2 of the people walked out. If we can't say no, we're not voting. The rest of them voted for it. And you know, well, it was divided, but, you know, enough of them voted for it that it passed. Okay, and then we had to appeal it. Second round, everybody said that you're nuts.
Yeah.
You're
can't
nuts.
Find the corporate world. Yeah.
And you know, we said, I know the odds realistically are minuscule, but this is just something we have to do for our sake. Right. You know, if we didn't do it, we couldn't live with ourselves. We don't want to sell our beautiful healing center, you know, and move on, which is what we would have done.
Right.
So it was amazing how that city attorney then had to leave because of conflicts with the council. They brought in an expert lawyer from Portland, you know, the biggest city here, on cell tower law, and that lawyer said, no, you can say no to AT&T. This is how you do it. And the city council then said, because they had to walk through hundreds of people, you got to understand, this is signs that were positive. There weren't, you know, AT&T is bad, screw AT&T. There was none of that. These were positive signs. We want a healthy future. We want to, we want to respect Ashland. You know, that was the message. Respect Ashland. Okay, so they had to walk through hundreds of people to get into the thing. You know, so they voted, of course, since the attorney said they could, but it was that synchronous thing of our city attorney had to leave right at that time. If that hadn't happened, there's no way it would have happened.
So you had envisioned, and the people working with you kept envisioning the end result of what you wanted, rather than occupying yourself with the details of how to. And that's something we, in our little pre-talk in between here, we want to focus on a bit. Is, first of all, wow. So taking visioning skills outside of your personal realm, I want to get rich and healthy and loving and have a mate and a big car. It's like, okay, let's do something that is also affecting millions of people and bigger world.
Yeah, do something for the community with use the incredibly powerful creating tool our mind is to do something, you know, because there's that Albert Schweitzer quote that, you know, I don't know what your future will be, but I do know this: if you don't, only those that I'm butchering it, but it's something like this: only those will be happy who have sought and found a way to serve. It's such a up on my wall. I try to live by that. Beautiful. Only those who are really happy who have sought and found a way to serve.
Ditto. And I think everybody who finds that they can have the power of consciousness to create fulfillment in their own life, the pyramid of needs, like if they're covered, they start going like, well, what's next? How can I apply this to a greater service rather than just me? So let's just talk briefly about not occupying ourselves so much with the how this is going to come about, because a lot of people go and say, okay, I want to make money. This is how I'm going to do it. So you're proposing, let's walk through this living from vision technique of living in the end result as a fulfillment and as a feeling, and how powerful that is to bring in the resonant reality of the changes that you, like in this case, the judge being replaced in Ashland.
Yes. And letting go of the means how it'll come about, because that was really the first lesson I learned. You know, in the first interview, I was talking about how in 1979, I wrote down everything I wanted in my life. It came about within a year. Well, it actually came about suddenly, because what happened was I got an offer after a year in practice. I got an offer to work at a holistic healing center down in Baja California, where they were doing, you know, treating cancer patients with the Kelly program, and a great opportunity. So I went down there, and within 3 weeks of being there, I met my life partner. Right. And I had, let me tell you about the wealth thing, because I was still heavily in debt from school. But the deal there was they would pay my debts, and all my living expenses were paid because I was there. And then they gave me $800 in cash. So I'd pick up this $800 in cash every 2 weeks or whatever it was. And we'd go. I had all my expenses were covered. So we went to the nearest town, San Diego. I put half of it in the bank, and then I said, new life partner, what are we going to do with this other $400 we got? Which at that time was a lot of money. And I felt so wealthy, you know? And, so I had, and it just built on from there, it's like.
Right. So you set the goal, you envisioned what it would feel like if you got there, and then somehow miraculously things showed up in your life to make it happen without you having an actual plan of how to get there.
I went from a poor, lonely, single chiropractor in practice to a fulfilled, it doesn't get wealthier than that.
Right. Already.
We've got more money than I need. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
Within
a year's time, of you setting the goal, so defining where you want to go and making a sub list of what those concepts are. And now you mentioned in the first part the importance of aligning with divine will. And you mentioned, and we talked about the ascension into the vertical, which I'm pointing upward as we are upright creatures, and we associate heavens with up and the earth below. But that's just because we're upright creatures and daytime creatures. Right. If we were snakes, we would have a totally different cosmology. But since we are humans, that's what I'm saying, the ascension and the transformation. Now, tell us about that.
So, there's those two things. One is you can get out of yourself, which is important, especially if you're going to use the power of the creating tool of your mind. You need to be able to learn to get out of yourself. That's really the master skills.
And when you say getting out of yourself, that may be interpreted like astral travel. I just want to clarify that.
So it's a very individual thing. Mm-hmm. The main thing is, and what happens in the recordings in Living from Vision are designed to get you out of yourself. What does that mean? Leave your sense of self behind. We all have that experience. this is, there's spiritual heights, but there's also the everyday experience that all of us have had of, they call it the flow state. Mm-hmm. You're out of yourself. Things are just flowing. So there's more subtle, and then there's the, light,
right.
bright light, super transcendent things. All of those are, on the vertical dimension. They're all transcendent in a certain way.
Okay.
The way Joe Dispenza talks about it, which I like, is he says, you have to go to the quantum state beyond yourself, beyond time, beyond your circumstances. So in the moment, if you're not thinking about yourself, you're not thinking about time, you're not thinking about your circumstances, and you're experiencing the experience you would experience if you had the circumstances that you were hoping would give that to you, then you can come back into the horizontal transformational level, and you can transform certainly your body, the energy blocks in your body, certainly your internal experience, and probably the external experiences. And then that's a caveat, because it's like, how far can we go in terms of actually changing external experiences? That's a interesting metaphysical conversation.
Yes.
But it doesn't really matter, because if you can create it inside, you're not going to care.
Well, and it automatically means you will create the external change, because it is one and the same. It just looks different.
Right. Certainly makes it more likely that any specific creation that you envision will be much, I like to say, you never know in advance what you can create or can't create, but it's way more likely if you do this, and you do know that you're capable of creating the internal experience. So that's
right. And so I think the most important thing that I want to keep in mind here is that creating an internal state in which you express and feel in advance what you really want and focus on that as if it already happened is the blueprint setting for the universe to come in and then put building blocks of matter around it. And all that we ever have is the internal state. We don't really have the external parts. We are only this influx consciousness that is fluctuating all the time and always, hopefully, accelerating in frequency.
I think that was the most exciting thing about when we met, you know, studying Vern Wolf's holodynamics and Gary Zukauf's book had come out, Holographic Universe had come out. All of a sudden we realized, well, we're already on to creating the internal experience advance, but now it's like, whoa, there are physicists, you know, saying the same thing, you know, and in this way, and with specific, now we have specific tools, you know, of metaphorical imagery and interactive guided imagery that can help us, you know, create the you know, be more skillful at creating that. Because I want to mention this. There's, it's not just understanding this. You have to, there's two other things that you need to have. You need to have the skill to be able to use your mind that way. And then you need to be able to have the capacity to be able to do it. Like, let me give you an example. If you want to swim a mile, now, certainly that's possible, right?
Right.
What do you need? You need those three things. You need somebody, if let's say you don't know how to swim and you want to swim a mile. Okay, you got to first learn to swim. Now, that's certainly not enough to swim a mile. You can go and at least stay alive in the water for a while.
Right.
So you need the skill. So somebody teaches you, helps you develop the skill so you actually can swim farther. And then the third thing you need, because that's still not enough necessarily. You could have a skills in swimming and swim really well, but you run out of breath. You can't swim a mile. So you need the capacity.
Yes.
And you need to build that capacity over time.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing that we learned back then and that we're able to package in the Living from Vision course is, okay, here are the skills. Now, develop the skills. You got to, you do not do the concept, you got to be able to actually do it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now let's practice it over time so you can get in shape and have the capacity to be able to do it. Now, that happened in 5 weeks. How can that happen in 5 weeks? I mean, to swim a mile, it's going to take me a year to get in shape. I always wondered that. How could it happen so fast?
I absolutely am blown away by the amount of results people get in a short amount of time. And I also have seen over the last 30 years watching people and guiding people that endurance and continued attention to personal growth makes the difference. Our capacity builds, like all the goals you might come up with right now will be outgrown by you 10 years later. If you keep on that path of the spiral growing, in 10 years you look down on yourself, let's say, and you go, wow, that was 10 years ago and my great goals, you know, but whoa, compared to my capacity now. And we build that. And that's why I am really, really fond of people doing the Living from Vision course at least once a year. If not, people have done it 3 times a year and feel like that's the optimum, like every 3 months or so for 5 weeks.
Great.
So let me...
We're on board with that. And one of the things I really appreciate about you and Dawn is I've watched you over, 28 years now.
Right.
Your daily practice is huge.
Yes.
And boy, does that make a difference. You know, whether you feel like it or not, you know, you do it, whether you know, there's a difference between experience and effect. And the thing about a daily practice is the experience of any daily practice that's worthy of being a daily practice is sometimes the experience is, I don't want to do it. Right. You know, it's, you know, I don't want to do it today, but
too many other things.
Discipline yourself and go through that experience. The effect of that is phenomenal, maybe more powerful than those times when the experience is, oh, wonderful.
Well, and what you developed is so easy and so fun to do. You know, a lot of people like I had somebody just write me from Germany and say, her boyfriend suggested, why don't you do the Living from Vision course again? You are so happy, so positive, and you get so many more things done. And she's like, okay, 12 minutes a day in the morning, 12 minutes a day in the evening. And that's all it takes with the app these days. We have these audio exercises and they accompany you. So, but besides the app accompanying you and, the tutorial letters and all that, we also, and this is what I've seen largely happen, and for the people who've really taken it to heart, they've gotten coaching. Now, you can do the entire course on your own, but I do know that when people take someone who's had experience and who helps, and I just have done that by publishing my book, Dream Big. I ask for people with expertise and say, help me. Because there are these blind spots, and then maybe the day that I don't feel like doing it. But if I have someone to be accountable to, I am going to bust my butt. So tell us about the special offer you're going to provide to only the people here at the Dream Big Summit in terms of coaching.
So I'll do two offers. The one we already offered in the first one, which is one-off coaching session, a little kind of mini From Vision tune-up course, or if you haven't taken it in Living from Vision, it's the same kind of thing. We'll do a one-on-one course where we get in touch with what matters most to you, and through interactive guided imagery, what your subconscious says about that, and then we will, while we're still on the call, I will talk you through a guided imagery of the length that you choose, that you can listen to every day, specifically designed for you, that'll help you build the skills. Because we'll talk about, not just what you want, but what are the skills you're going to need to build and the capacity you'll need to have in order to do this next step of unfolding that's in your life. And then we get that recorded, and, so one session, 90 minutes, half price.
Effectively, instead of $300, costing $150.
Yes.
So that's number one.
Put in the code, dream big, because we got to dream big. The other one is for
the
a
second
few
one,
people,
yes.
because I only, I don't have a lot of capacity in my schedule,
Extra.
But for a few people who want to be mentored and coached through the Living from Vision course. Now, this could be somebody who hasn't taken it before, and we'll tailor it to you. Because we had to create a course for broad appeal, but I can tailor it very easily to your specific needs, the time that you want to spend on it, with a minimum. There's a minimum, but
the course goes over 5 weeks, so you actually need you offering the coaching to accompany the 5 segments. I mean, people can.
So they buy the self-study course, and I will coach him over 5 weeks to be able to do that. Either somebody who hasn't done Living from Vision, or if somebody wants to do a refresher, like you're saying, I'll coach him through a refresher.
So what's included? Do you have 5 sessions at $300? It's $1,500. What are you offering us? And let's just throw the Living from Vision course in here. What are you giving us?
Self-study, I'll do it for $9.95. Such a deal.
Awesome. I'm glad. Yes, let's bargain right here, right then. Okay, so $9.95, including the Living from Vision online course, which normally sells for $245. You have the 5-4 coaching sessions, which would be normally 5 times 300 at 90-minute sessions. So you have 5. Can then somebody do it over, let's say, 10 weeks and do it every other week?
I'll tell you my experience with that. I don't know what your experience is, but I did do that with the staff here at Hidden Springs a few years back.
Okay.
And it lost momentum.
Okay, so people better if they do it.
When I recommend people do this, I do it 5 weeks, do the exercises every day. You can miss 1 day a week, no more than that. If you do that, we can pretty much guarantee results.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I used to go with other teachers' students. I would talk to them and I'd say, well, tell me the results you had. And they'd say, I could tell them how much they practiced, how consistent based on the results. They'd say, whoa, it's incredible, life-changing. I said, you did those exercises pretty much every day, didn't you? Oh, yeah, I was religious about it. And then somebody'd say, it was good. It was good. It made some good changes in my life. And I'd say, you did the exercises most of the time, but you kind of missed some along the way, didn't you? how did you know that? And then someone else would say, I thought the concepts were really interesting and everything, but it didn't really have that big of an impact on my life. And I'd say, you didn't really do the exercises very consistently, did you? It's like, no, life got in the way. And
yeah. And when you say exercises, you mean the daily exercises, which are the morning and evening audio exercises, 15 minutes each, morning and evening, right?
Yes. Somebody just said, I was asking them, what do they think is the most, why does living from vision work so well? And when they've done other things, it didn't work so well. And they said, because of the way that it's structured, that all you have to do is press play, do what it says every day, yes, whether you feel like it or not, for 5 weeks, and your life changes.
Yes.
And the exercises are amazing, they said. So it's the structured exercises that they thought, yes, was the most powerful.
Now, these days we have the course available online. Of course, you and we are teaching people to become coaches, to become group leaders, to either be one-on-one coaches or to teach all classes. But that's another story. People can come to us if they are interested in becoming a coach for living from vision. But here's the story. I am like one of those people. Self-discipline isn't necessarily my forte. I get excited about all these things, and then I get these self-study courses, and it's like, oh God, do I remember to do this? But if I pay, and this is how I've gotten my book done finally, pay big bucks to a coach, he's like, Ilona, you're ready? Come shine or rain, whatever. You have to talk to your coach, and I better be ready and have done all my exercises, done all my homework, performed really well, and that works for me. For Don, he is disciplined. He gets things done. I was doing that in another Confession of an Author. But this is me, and I know myself. So for me, a coach works really well. And so you do have a special offer for the kind of people that would like to have someone to be accountable to, someone who can help them through a glitch, somebody who says, okay, focus on this, do this. Now, you need to focus more on the skill of learning to transform problems. Okay, you need to da-da-da. And you walk them through the 5 weeks with 5 different coaching sessions. Can you give us a prize, a special offer? Can you do us a favor here? I know you don't have that much, probably, extra time, but you can take a few, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, I would love to coach some people through the 5 weeks of the Living from Vision course, either ones who've taken it before or ones who haven't taken it before and want to do it the first time. Either way would work great. And, you can get them to do the exercises so they actually get the results. But even more than that, we can do interactive guided imagery in each of the sessions. And I'd love to talk about that because that gets very specific for the person. There shows them what their unconscious is trying to tell them, build resources from their unconscious, and just takes things into hyperspace. So 5 sessions, 90 minutes is what I'd like to do. I could do it especially with graduates with a 60-minute thing, which I'd be willing to entertain. But 90, let's say 5 sessions, 90 minutes, normally that'd be $300 a session, $1,500. I'd be willing to offer if they put in the code Dream Big, because we want everyone to be dreaming big on the planet now. We can do that for $9.95 for 2/3. Let's see.
Wow, 2/3. Can you? Okay, so that's for the 5 sessions, and if they get the Living from Vision course, is that extra, the online course?
We can include the online Living from Vision course.
Yes. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. Deal. Haha. I'm going to keep it to you. It's on record now.
Dream Big is the thing you can put in that for special code. And I want to talk about interactive guided imagery because that's what we were getting into right at the time that we met you. And it was so, before that we'd had guided imagery where you listen to what someone has said, and that's what you have to do if it's a group because you can't individualize it. But interactive guided imagery, you can say, go to a peaceful place and tell me about it. What do you see? And then look around and, invite in your inner advisor, and what does your inner advisor say? Oh, how do you feel about that? Now let's explore. So it's someone who knows how to explore,
Right.
one-on-one, guiding you moment by moment with what's unfolding in your subconscious. It's my favorite coaching technique. It's so powerful.
And especially when you're working on transforming problems, that's where most people need help.
Oh, man.
You know, how do you, I mean, we have the exercise on audio. You can just push pause, finish your answers and then come back. But having someone who does all the paying attention to details do that for you, that's the trick. That's
well, and you can go layer by layer specifically. That problem or that challenge or their block is bringing to you both messages, which is important, but also the energy it's bringing to you. There's an energy quality that every block gives you. There's in the Living from Vision course, it says, you know, the blocks aren't in your way, they are the way. There's something in there that if you can not just receive the message from, but receive whatever energy it's bringing you to, in order to bring more energetic wholeness to your creating.
Right.
That's what turbocharges the creating power of your mind, because your mind wants you, in the process of using it in that way, it wants you to become whole. Subconscious mind's always seeking wholeness.
That is beautiful. I love that. So we don't see the problems as a wall, but rather as a stepping stone. And that's, Dr. Vern Wolf talked about it. We live that and are living proof of that. We've worked with thousands of people doing that. So yes, it's a fact of life that whatever block you encounter, you can dialogue with it and find out and transform the shadow into the bright. It's your power animal. It's like your enemy turns into your power animal. It's the transformational stepping stone that we can utilize to help us become the next greater expression of whatever power it looked like wasn't working, right?
Yes. So that's one aspect of the interactive guided imagery and the power of your subconscious. But the other one is in the resources. And you can use interactive guided imagery to build resources. And it's, they're very real, very powerful. And the power of imagery, the example I give is, you can have a lemon, which isn't real. And you can imagine cutting that imaginary lemon, which isn't real. And you can imagine squeezing that, into your mouth. I don't know about you, but the saliva is real.
There's a run there, you're right.
Imaginary thing causing real effect. That's what we want to do with imagery. Now, I love that they're calling it the imaginal realms now, rather than imaginary. Because imaginary has gotten kind of a bum rap over the years. The imaginal is not unreal. It's as real as anything else. It's just it's in the imaginal realm. Right. And let me give you a very real example of that for me that totally blew my mind. Okay. When I was in my 30s, when I met you, I was doing a lot of interactive guided imagery with this future self of mine, which was in his 50s. And this guy had a peacefulness to him that was striking. And I didn't realize until then how restless I was in my 30s. But I took solace in this, there's just this peace. It was so sweet. And so I kept him with me, and he would come to me from time to time in guided imagery and in other times. Well,
so he became your inner guide. He was part of your inner guidance system.
Yeah, I definitely was, and a very powerful resource that guided me. My father had passed away by then. This was really helpful to me. I got into my 50s, and I started, and I was doing, as I have all along, some healing things that involve going back in time to earlier parts, comforting and embracing those parts. And sometimes I would go back to childhood, of course, and sometimes I would go to this 30-year-old. And when I was 30-something, that's what came up in the guided imagery. Yes. I was like, oh my God, this is the other side of what I was experiencing then. And all of a sudden, it wasn't just, imagination things, even if they did create real effects. I was in the imaginal realm on the other side, outside of time, looking at both sides of that kind of thing.
You were the 50-year-old now talking back to yourself. Indeed.
And I indeed had cultivated that inner sense of peace, you know, that he experienced back then, and now I was bringing it to him. It's like, what a sweet, you know, way to love yourself.
Yes. And powerful fact is that, well, powerful. I mean, actually, I think the mystics have a much more powerful handle on reality. But let's just say science, is which we adore these days, is now saying that we may well be living in a hologram that is lit up. It's informational fields becoming alive. And when you want to change something, you change it at the holographic level, and shift the information, which shifts the energy, which shifts the physical manifestation. And this is printed every single day in the papers now. Every time I open up anything about news, it has an article that dives into the black hole, how information doesn't get lost, the paradox, and how now they imagine black holes having this surface being this holographic structure, and that the animation of the life force makes things appear as though they're real. And science is talking like this. And they're going to crack the code in this next 100 years. They're going to see, and we're all going to see, and we're going to find out that we are co-creators from that high of a level. And it is a real thing that creates not only personal chemical changes, but time-space changes, as I've loved to write about in all my books, including my new one that's called Dream Big. The universe is listening. But I love how you have lived now describing both sides of the coin, being the advisor to your younger self. Mm.
And you know, that's what we were getting into when we met, you know, with Vern Wolf's polar dynamics and so forth, the whole, you know, and exploring the kind of far reaches of that. It has a lot of, you know, philosophical implications. But, you know, I have 5 planets in Taurus. You know, I'm a very practical kind of guy. It's like, I love that stuff, and it needs to be real and tangible in this world to be complete for me. You know, like, fun, but this, you know, you gotta have the whole thing. And
that's what I love. The Living from Vision course does exactly that. It takes the really high things, and anybody, beginners and really advanced people, can use it and get phenomenal results. I mean, really make life changes. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's, I mean, I've come to see myself as an explorer. This is what I love to do, you know, and often what we love to do, we get pretty good at over the years. And I love to explore, find everything that's out there, and then get what I think is the best and most practical, and then package it so that it can help other people, and then structure it in a way that it's practical. I mean, those are the kind of things. So explore, synthesize, and then share. And that's what I think that we did really well with the Living from Vision course. And, you know, I love continuing to do that with a lot of things that I'm into. So,
and, you know, and that's what I love, and what people love, and why they feel drawn to teaching this, because it's an entire system that's like a recipe. You know, it's a really amazing recipe, and you walk through it and you get results. And what I have loved, I've had people who come from all walks of life, super accomplished people, like top of the ladder accomplished people, have taken this course and taken themselves into a greater breadth of who they really are, because it brings the spiritual aspects. Actually, that's what they do in Singapore. They say, you know, Stephen Covey's work is great. They love his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. They say the Living from Vision course brings it into practice. Thank God to your 5 planets in Taurus, who brings things into manifestation.
Yeah. Well, you know, and part of that, I want to talk a little more about the master skills that are embedded in the Living from Vision class. That's
yes, I love to do that. And I want to make sure that we don't run forever, because we've already been here at 45 minutes. But yeah, go run with it. I just want to be aware of the timing.
Okay. I'll see if I can laser this, because they can get the free download from the website that explains it more further. But the reason that it's so powerful, I think, is this. I mentioned it in the first one, but I want to go a little more detail into the 5 master skills that create the master. And the first one is awareness. You know, awareness is essentially conscious. You know, I've heard a spiritual master describe it as, you know, somebody asked him, what's the soul? Said, awareness, attention. You know, everything else, the mind, body, and so forth, is coverings that the soul uses. So awareness first, and cultivating. We can wake up. We can cultivate even just through intention, even right now. You know, just become more aware.
Yes.
We can intend that. We can do that, and it feels like a little bit of a waking up. You know, all mindful practices start with awareness. Then you direct that awareness. So directed attention is the second one. But if you do that, you have to relax, because if you don't relax, you start to get tense when you're with the effort of directed attention. Okay? So then that's the three. You have to combine those two with directed attention and relaxation. Then you get into concentration. Now, the difference between directed attention and concentration is the difference between a light bulb 100 watt and a laser 100 watt. Same 100 watts, one's concentrated.
Right.
Laser can go through steel. Light bulb can light up a room. Okay, but if you're going to have that kind of concentration, you need more than relaxation to balance it. You need deep surrender, deep letting go. Okay, so and that's the master state, is this paradoxical stretching into, synergizing between this very masculine laser-like focus and this very feminine, you know, letting go, surrender. And when you stretch opposites in the world of duality and you synergize, in order to synergize opposites, you have to have unity. You have to have consciousness in order to be able to do that.
Yes.
So if doing these master skills requires you to bring in consciousness, and that's the master state, is that awake, conscious, laser focus with total surrender. You take that state to anything you do. You cultivate that, like we talked about, with daily practice, and build your capacity. So you build your skill and you build your capacity for that. Bring it to anything. Now, it's embedded in the Living from Vision course. We don't talk about it like that. That's why we're doing this new thing, so you understand what happened back there. But in 5 weeks, you practice it, you cultivate it, you develop skill, you develop capacity.
Right. And I love how you describe that when you are able to hold polarities within the hands of your consciousness, and you, the superseding awareness, are capable of having neither an attraction or repulsion to either, that's the moment you know you have mastered those polarities. So it's like that is
bingo.
Heightening your seat of your soul. I love Gary Sukup's term, the seat of your soul, and that's an ever-evolving place of or intensity of consciousness, let's just say. The awareness,
Yeah, no, Gary ended up moving up here to Ashland with us.
And your friends. Cool. So the Master Skills is free of charge. You get it at a freebie here above the videos at the very top. The very special offer for the 5 coaching sessions, including the Living from Vision course. God, we did a great deal with you, $9.95. Thank you very much, Rod. I know that you only have a spot for a few people. So the special few meant to be with you will be with you and get you. And then, of course, anybody interested in future materials and trainings, please write me and we will coordinate. We have a training session coming up in Bali for teachers. If you want to do it in the US, you'll be working with Rod. If you do it on a vacation, you'll do it with me. So, Rod, I think what I wanted to go over is, you had mentioned originally doing the refocusing technique, and I am not sure that we sufficiently went through this. So let's walk through the stages of refocusing. How do you do it?
Yeah, well, basically it's what you do whenever you notice things aren't going the way you want them to be going, which, if you're human, how many times a day does that happen? And what do we normally do? You know, well, normally we react, respond, whatever. There's an option. And the refocusing technique is, again, you need to train yourself to do this and make it a habit. But what you do is, as soon as you notice, the way we explain it in the Living from Vision course is we say stop, look, choose. Okay?
Easy words.
The way we say it, the way we say it now is stop, stop, stop. Especially if it's something you really don't want to be happening. Because you need to imprint on yourself that you've got to shift gears here. Otherwise you go creating very you want to get rid of. So first thing, so let's do the stop, look, choose, a little bit of description while you do it, but choose something like the easiest. Hopefully nobody is having an experience now where things aren't going the way they want while they're listening to this.
No, but let's just take anything that happened. Yeah, any experience.
And remember a time, you can either do this with a big thing or a little thing. You can do it, something that happened earlier today or yesterday or within the last week. Probably a little thing might be better. But pick something that was where you remember, first thing comes to mind, where things were not going the way you wanted them to go. Okay?
All right. So I'm closing my eyes now?
Yeah, you can close your eyes. You can do this eyes open. You can do it eyes open. I'll share a couple of really interesting stories if you want.
After. Okay, let's do this. I'll close my eyes then.
So once you have something, raise your hand out there so we can know everybody's got one. And imagine going back into that scene, noticing that things aren't going the way you want. That's the first thing. You got to be aware. You got to wake up. Things aren't going the way I want. Stop, 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 stop. Okay. Imagine stopping doing what you're doing. And then look. Okay, what look does is it allows you to get out of yourself a little bit. You get a little objective. Ideally, you go into that quantum space completely beyond yourself and circumstance and so forth. Whatever you've been able to train in yourself, you'll do then. So you stop, do it now. Imagine stopping, imagine just stepping back and looking at the scene. Already it's better. Already you have more choice because you broke the loop that wasn't working.
Okay, so I am stepping out of the situation. I'm looking at it and I go, oh, that's what's going on. Something like that, yeah?
And now, in that space, it gives you space to choose. When you're lost in it, you don't have space to choose. So now choose. Basically, decide what you want. Leave it behind the conflict for a moment, except to inform you of what it is that you really want. What matters most to you here? What's most important? So imagine, you're in that time, you've stepped back. Now what do I want? I want this because I'm in touch now with what matters most to me. Now, the last and final step, most important, let go. You got to let it go at that point. There's other things you can do to explore it if you want to, but you got to be able to make this a habit where you do it almost instantaneously, where every time something isn't going the way you want, you automatically, as a habit, go, oh, what do I want? Oh, I want this. Okay, yes. I choose this. So you say, I choose. And as soon as you say, I choose, you can imagine turning it over to your inner advisor, which is really helpful, because that helps you to let go. I choose this, and now I let go.
Awesome. I mean, it brings such depth of calm, of like another heightened vibration. Instead of digging in the dirt, it's like elevating my sense of who I am. It's aggrandizing my vibrational body to expressing that which I really want. Thank you.
Yes. So let me give you 3 quick examples so you really understand, for the people listening to this, what this can do for you. The first example is, I remember I came home from teaching, and Brooks was upset with me for, not telling her or something, or being late, or I think I came in and was asking where lunch was in a way that sounded demanding, so I didn't make it that way.
Right, whatever. Right.
She comes back saying that. You go, whoa, this is not what I want to be happening here. So I stopped. In the middle of I felt a little justified, actually. But nonetheless, I stopped. I looked at the situation I chose. I had a picture of us hugging. And that feeling of wonderful connection, it certainly wasn't there now. I chose it, I turned it over to my inner advisor, and then I went back to justifying how I was right. And it didn't immediately resolve. But at the end of lunch, which I actually did get, I don't remember if I had to make it myself, but I remember hugging her to go back down to work to teach. And it was that exact feeling. That exact feeling I had imagined. Here we are. It took an hour to get there, but now we're here. So I let go, and then I let it happen however it did.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. So that it is, you create the internal state first, you let the universe arrange the circumstances, and suddenly you're in the picture of your choice, and the reality becomes, the blueprint forms into 3D reality around you. And I mean, I just, Rod and Vern, and both of you are on this show for that reason. You've impacted my life, and therefore thousands of people's lives that I've touched, and thousands of coaches that have touched thousands of people's lives. So it's been one drop. You imagine one person gets excited and goes, let's figure this out, drops one pebble into the ocean or into the water in a pond that's still, and you go, whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah.
And here we are, and we are creating real tangible results. And it's not a one-time straw fire. It's something you can build. Like I love how you say we have to build our capacity, because you need to grow. And once you've reached one of your goals, it's like the next level of you can start to live. And see, that's where, and you were hinting at that, and let's talk about that to finalize this talk about divine guidance and personal will versus divine will.
Yeah.
How that, yes.
The biggest thing that came in, especially when things started happening right away with these creating skills, it's like, okay, now we need to really focus on divine guidance in this, and how do we do that?
Yes.
That's very personal for everybody, but there are things that are in common with that, where there's this master state where we are surrendered, we're letting go, and we're focused, and we're aware. That allows in guidance.
Yes.
And the intention of that, I think, is
yes.
The power of intention is, I haven't found anything more powerful than conscious intention.
And you mean in this case the intention to surrender to a higher force, whatever we may want to call it personally?
Yeah, thy will, not mine.
Right.
It's that,
yeah.
Kind of, and it's it's reinforcing. It feels good.
Yeah.
There's something that feels grounded and deep about it, as opposed to, when I'm creating, and I'm human, so sometimes I lose that. What happens is I create the result, and I get what I call temporary sense excitation. Right? It happens, I'm excited that this is great, but something's missing. There's some depth. There's that deep inner peace that comes from divine connection. That happy for no reason. Happy for reason always has the feeling of this is too good to be true, or this can't last, and the reason it has that feeling is it is too good to be true, and it can't last without that, divine guidance. It's the feeling is going to be a temporary thing that you pay a price for ultimately, That's what I think, at least in terms of kind of karmic, the yogic karmic theory, which I find helpful. So, yeah, the intention, the way I define living from vision, by the way, these days, is living every day according to what matters most to you, while seeking divine guidance.
Yeah.
That's the way I've structured my life, and,
Right. And what I have found by, having tons of people go through this decade after decade, and other teachers teaching other teachers, it's like, it's a self-elevating system. You make one spiral and you come to the next level of your capacity of understanding your higher self. You connect to a higher guide, an internal
Yes.
guide. We call it the advisor. We take it out of the spiritual realm and non-religious realm. We just say psychological inner advisor, or the 3 different advisors you seek out. And they become greater and greater. It isn't there isn't a finalized version of one thing. It's like, imagine I am now a human made next lifetime. I mean, eventually I might be an entire, I feel sometimes anyways, a galactic, whole galaxy, a whole galactic structure. Then maybe you're not only galactic structure, you start occupying quadrants of space and you become the entirety. I mean, if the higher you go, and then sometimes there are moments where I feel like, bang, I'm the entirety or one with it all. And our identity states grow with our evolution. And we can't be the utmost right in the beginning. We start step by step and aggrandize our capacity with each phase of our life.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you're interested in
doing that
and skills in expanding your capacity to be able to hold this, your capacity to use your mind as a powerful creating tool, your capacity to live every day according to what matters most to you, your capacity even to ask for divine guidance, all of those things. Living from Vision is structured just to do that.
Yeah.
And it does it very well.
Yep. Gets results. And the beauty of it is you get the online course. You can practice on your own again and again. It's your lifetime gift. And the 5 segments of coaching accompany you through the first time through to make you accountable and get you that great feeling of success. And that's what I needed. I needed to be in a classroom. I needed to be with a coach. I still do, but nevertheless, there are different strokes for different folks. Some people are great at doing it individually. Some people do great with a coach once in a great while. Some people do great with getting started, getting the pattern down, and then repeating and running with it. So thank you very, very, very much, Rod, for your generous time and offer and your amazing gift to my life, for having been the creator of the Living from Vision course. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ilona. I look forward to the next time we see you in Bali or...
Yes, at Shambhala Retreat Center.
Rishikesh.
Yes. Rishikesh. Oh yeah, that was the day when I just said, I wonder where Rod is. Haven't heard from him for a couple months. And I then went to the post office, was wondering where shall I go next, stepped out on the street in Rishikesh, and Rod is in front of me. Ilona, what are you doing here? And I had just thought about him an hour ago and just thought, where is he? I wonder, I need to get in touch with him. Yes.
You want to know what's surprising to me about that? What was surprising to me about that is I wasn't shocked. I had no idea you were there, and I saw you, and it was kind of of course.
Of course, here we are.
Those kind of synchronous. It was only after you left, because it's your last day in Rishikesh,
right.
Our first.
Yes.
Only after you left where I went, oh my God, that was incredible. What are the odds of that? Neither of us knew we were there. We bumped into each other on.
I just thought, there were moments in my day where I had to make a choice to be there. There were moments I had to hesitate because I was going to turn left to go back home. But I went straight towards the direction of you because there was a Tibetan shop across the street, and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. Let me look at that first before I make up my mind what I do next. And it's just long enough of a hesitation to have you walk into my field of vision and you going, Ilona, what are you doing here? So the fine coordination of timing becomes phenomenal. Daily experience. I mean, I have my books full of that kind of stuff. So inspiring to all of us because we are living in a very different universe than what science is trying to tell us. Well, maybe science by now is catching up.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good.
Good.
Okay,
all right. Thank you. See you someplace on this planet. See you soon. Bye.